Hey everyone, and welcome as we continue our study through the New Testament, looking at the New Testament church today. We're going to be in a very short section of Acts. It's just kind of a filler in between Second Corinthians and Romans, but I like to, again, we're doing this in chronological order, so I want to put these in there. And I know today's video is probably going to be like really, really short, but I still want to put every day, put every little section in there. Again, I think it helps add to the story, helps us understand exactly how the Bible was laid out, how things actually happen versus how we can read it sometimes. Just because when we read it in the book order, right, it gets, the timeline gets kind of shuffled around. But the way we're doing it in the chronological order. So I want us to see everything as it happened in the church as best we can tell, and as best most scholars can see from studying this. And so we're going to be in Acts 20 verses 2 and 3 today, just real quick reading, and then we'll look at a little short little snippet on notes, and then we'll be done. It says there, and we're starting to Acts 20 verse 2. It says, while there, he encouraged the believers in all the towns he passed through. Then he traveled down to Greece, where he stayed for 3 months. He was preparing to sail back to Syria when he discovered a plot from some Jews against his life, so he decided to return through Macedonia. And so, just to look at this real quick, right, from Macedonia, Paul traveled down to Greece. This would have been the Corinth and in the province area that we see there, and he stayed for 3 months, and so what we know more than likely is that Paul wrote his letter to the Romans during this time, during this 3 month period. This is when he wrote the letter to the Romans, and this is what we're getting ready to dive into tomorrow. And so he had traveling companions. They were the disciples from Berea, Thessalonica, Derbe, and Asia, who is, he was mentoring them and equipping them to lead as he did this. And so, like I said, we're going to now shift into, we see this, this shift. He was going to go through one way again, as was most his ministry. There was a threat to his life, and so he did his best to avoid being killed. So he kind of changed his plans there a little bit. But now we see that he wrote this letter to Romans, and so we're going to dive into that tomorrow, starting with Romans 1 verses 1 through 7, which is a greetings from Paul. And we're going to, like I usually try to do with when we start a new a book or a new letter, is to give you a good introduction into the context of the letter. I think this is really important because, so many times we'll read a verse and it's like, oh, well, we just read that verse and take it for face value without understanding the entire context of why the verse was written. And that's why I think it's important. I think we really did that in First Corinthians, right? Because a lot of the things that are written in First Corinthians, for us to understand them, we need to understand the context, the background of the letter, why it was written, who it was written to, and all these things. And so same things with Romans. We're going to, as we go into that, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to look at the context of why this letter was written to the Roman people, or the Roman church, and dive into it. Because one of the things we're going to do with this one is we're really going to dive into this one a lot, because probably Romans is probably one of the most theologically deep letters that was written by Paul. And so we'll probably spend quite a few times or quite a few weeks in this. Like I said before, I may actually split some of the days up, some of the readings up into multiple days, just depending on how the notes look. I don't want to create 45-minute videos, diving into some of these things. So we'll just see it. We'll play it by ear as we go through it, see how it goes. But as always, I hope y'all are learning from these. I hope they're helpful. I know today's again was really short. We see a little tiny piece of Paul's journey, but it's important to know that during this time of Acts 2, during that 3 months, this is when he wrote Romans. More than likely, most scholars believe that this is when he wrote Romans. And so, again, I hope you all are learning from this. I appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch. If you hadn't subscribed to our channel, do that. That way, we send these notifications out every day, or publish these every day, and so you'll get the notifications every day and see this. But as always, I appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day.